Engine 1 from car 1. Car 1's on scene. If you've been command, give me a CAN report.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CAN Report. This is Stickers, Mike Goldstein. Got another great show for you today. I'm with Nate Harpster of Phoenix, Arizona. And he has been doing some great things with inspiring others for fitness and motivation of just getting moving. And I've been following your page for a while now, Nate. And it's weird. I just kind of happened upon it. And I've been loving everything that you've been putting out. And I'm really happy to have you on the show tonight.
Yeah, right on. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, and appreciate
Absolutely.
you reaching out. I know it's been a little time to make it happen, but we're here.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to have you here tonight. It's a long time coming, like we were talking about before. We've been trying to make it happen, and finally our schedules lined up, and I'm happy to have you here. And I'm going to get your bio up here.
Right on.
All right, Nate Harpster. So you're a family man with two daughters. How old are your daughters?
I got a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old. So one's a sophomore in high school. The other one's up at CSU, freshman.
That is fantastic, man. Good for you. All right.
Yeah.
You got a wonderful wife. You've been on the job for 20 years in Phoenix. You started as a volunteer before that in a small town called Grand Island, New York, where you fell in love with the craft and profession of firefighting. For the last 13 years, you've worked on the back seat of Engine 2 out of Station 1, which is the big house in downtown Phoenix. You're also a TRT tech and medic and love going to work every shift. You have a huge passion for fitness for this job and promoting the idea that it takes work and effort and commitment to have a long, healthy career and, more importantly, a long, healthy retirement. And you say it is never too late to learn a new skill, trade, and sharpen your craft. And it's also never too late to start doing the same with your body. Man, what a great message. I love it. That's very cool.
Heck yeah.
So how old are you, Nate?
Okay, yeah, I'll be 49 this year.
Okay.
So
you don't look it.
One of the old guys now. Well, thanks. Yeah, I try. Sometimes I feel it, but I appreciate that.
I'm 46. I'm not far behind you.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I like it.
So, what is a TRT tech?
It's technical rescue. So rope rescue, high angle, swift water, confined space. That's our TRT.
And do you do a lot of that in Phoenix? I used to live in Arizona. I was younger, and I follow a lot of what Phoenix and Sun City and the whole area does. And you guys do a lot of tech rescues, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the station. I'm a TRT rover, so kind of what that means is I have the cert. I'm not at a particular TRT station. So when they need me, they're calling me in the morning and say, "Hey, we need you to go to 28 or 12 for the day." And so I'll just bring all my stuff over there. But yeah, for sure, we do plenty of rescues off our probably our most prominent area is Camelback Mountain. That gets on the news a lot, and that's a lot of hikers come through, and especially from out of town, and underestimate. And that's kind of that's the bread and butter for a lot of our calls, but also stuff like palm tree rescues, water rescues with all the canal systems here. There's some other places and some other things that TRT definitely comes into play for sure.
That's awesome. So you started out in New York, and we were talking earlier. You said it was around the Buffalo, New York area, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Just
That's
outside
cool.
of Buffalo, a small place called Grand Island, New York. It's a little pork chop right in the middle of Niagara River, Canada on one side, and Buffalo and Tonawanda, New York, and Niagara Falls on the other. So it's a pretty cool little unique area. Had its own volunteer fire department, 3 stations. Really, really well trained department, and it was really fun. I grew up seeing and hearing the trucks go, and the air raid siren every night. That was at 6:00. It was like it's kind of a relic from the old days where they would have that go off, and in the old days that would go off, and they'd start a phone chain list of, hey, where's the call at? Where's the emergency? And then it just kind of evolved into this test every night at 6:00, and that's how I knew how to get my butt home. And hearing that, and then watching some of the guys in my neighborhood that were volunteers go to calls, and I just kind of always had an affinity for it, and yeah, that's as soon as I could, I I got on the job there as a volunteer, and just loved it, loved every second of it.
That's awesome. I actually had family from the area. My mom and my dad, and pretty much my grandparents as well. They're all from Buffalo, New York. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, I got a lot of family history from the Buffalo, New York area. So it's pretty funny that you're
Oh yeah,
around that
go
area.
Bills.
So
I love
yeah,
it.
cool.
Yeah.
So um, what made you move down to Arizona?
Well, it was just I had, and I've talked about this before. I in our department, that was the Bruno era. We saw a lot of training videos from Phoenix, um, and that was just like the greatest thing at the time. And it was such a change in the fire service, and a lot of departments were starting to model or pick up some of the models from Phoenix, and I was lucky enough to come out and visit. I had a cousin that lived out here, and um, one of the things that really struck me about Phoenix was the culture, that truly the be nice culture. Uh, I would just pop into a station and say hello, and the guys were like, "Come on in, sit down, tell us what you're doing," and just were super welcoming. It was phenomenal. There was no rift, because I was a volunteer. They didn't dismiss anything. They were truly engaged and just wanted to know, what it was like, and super welcoming. And I just absolutely loved that side of that first experience with them. And of course, seeing Big Red, seeing all the different um, things that they do and were in the forefront of at the time. And I really fell in love with it. And of course, coming west from all green and everything, seeing all the mountains and all, it was just kind of a whole approach of, wow, this is a really cool place.
How old were you when you came to Arizona?
Well, I mean, when I visited, I was in college. My first time flying out to test, and that's what I did, is I just flew from Buffalo, took the test, flew back, came back for the CPAT, flew back home, flew back out for the interview. Um, I did that for two processes pretty much. And so I was about 24, 25 at that
Okay.
time. Um, and then in 2003, I just, you know, said, "Hey, I can't give up on this, and I can't let it go. And if I don't give it 100% and go after this, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life. I have to do this." And so I just, I was driving to work one day. I worked in an office. I was a hedgehog cubicle guy. And it just hit me. I'm like, I got to do this. I can't do this job, meaning the desk job, for the rest of my life. And I need to pursue this. It's a passion I have, and Phoenix is really where I want to be. And so I came home and I told my parents, I'm going to move. I'm going to move to Phoenix. And yeah, that's what I did. And a couple of my buddies and I drove out here, and man, it was one of the hardest things I did.
Yeah.
But I lived with my cousin for a little bit. I found a meaningless but very, very fortunate job in the fact that I told them, "Hey, listen, this is my goal." And they were completely supportive of it. It wasn't a glamorous job. I moved rugs, Oriental rugs, around, and brought them to people's houses. And I just, for a guy having a 4-year degree, the my boss, I still remember his name, Brian Shanley, um, super awesome dude from Chicago, and he's like, "Dude, you're like way overqualified for this job. Why are you applying?" I said, "Well, this is my end goal." And he said, "You're hired, man." And he gave me all the latitude I needed to do what I needed to get hired, which was get fully involved in every aspect that I could and just immerse myself because I did not test for anybody else. I give the advice to guys now, test everywhere, but I just put my eggs in that basket, um, totally immersed myself. And in that next process, I got hired.
Wow. Yeah, because it's pretty competitive down there, right? Like Phoenix it's not easy. Like you guys, what do you have? Like, I mean, it's in the hundreds, right? For your testing process?
Oh, but more than that, I mean, yeah, I mean, at the time I was testing, especially our Phoenix Convention Center, it was packed front to back with people, just rows and rows and rows as far as you could see with people taking the test. So, for probably, well, each academy was 50 and they were doing about 4 academies a year. So
Wow.
that's how many spots out of all those people you're competing against. And it really was a full-time job, still is, I think, a full-time job to get hired to make your reputation and set yourself up for success. So um, yeah, you really have to go all in, and that's what I did. I was very fortunate to get hooked up with some really great mentors that helped me tremendously in the process because I didn't know anybody. And that's always a disadvantage. And the more you get to know people, you build a reputation, people vouch for you, you get a little bit more opportunities. And um, yeah, there's just some great people. Ray Martinez, he just passed away this past year. He was a huge help for me in the interview process, how to correctly interview. And just I was super fortunate to be surrounded by those people. And I give a lot of credit to them in helping me get there.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
moving from the east to Arizona, was that tough to acclimate to the weather, to fire tactics, things like that? Was it kind of a big culture shift?
Yeah, there was definitely a shift. We did have a lot of kind of back east tactics, um, but I was an open book, and that's kind of what I said in my interview is, and I tell people this today still, be humbly confident, and I said, because they have my resume in front of me, and I did have some fire experience. I said, but coming here, I know nothing. I know nothing of your system. I mean, I've done my homework. I know about your system, but I haven't been in the system, and
Yeah.
I want to learn everything about this organization, about the system, about how you guys fight fire, how you guys, run major medical calls, how you guys run EMS calls, like what I wanted. That's what I want. I want to be part of your system. So the transition for me, as far as that, I was confident in what little skill set I had from those 5 years of service. I could throw a bottle, I could put my gear on, I could pull a hose, but could I do it the the way they were going to teach me in the academy, the way they wanted me to do it? And I was all about it. As far as the weather, I mean, I always tell people, um, in the winter there, and a lot of guys maybe on the East Coast will know this. Like you're wearing your gear sometimes to stay warm on calls. And then you got the ice on it. I remember fighting fires in just frigid temperatures where you have an ice skating rink around your truck and the bottoms of the ladders kind of freeze up, or the top of the ladder where it's closer to like a window or the roof, that's it's melted, you're coming down and it's fine, and then all of a sudden the bottom's slippery as hell. um, that's definitely a transition. But here, when you have that gear on and you're working in your gear, like there is no escaping from the heat. It's hot outside. It's hotter inside. You come out. It's hard to recover. So that's truly why it's important, no matter where you are in the country, to be fit. But um, especially in this climate, it's even more important, I feel like.
So let's jump into that. So you having obviously to train your body to be able to perform it in the Arizona heat.
Yeah.
Um, did you? How did you cater? You didn't just start working out and having these routines? Did something inspire you to start being better physically and having different workouts?
Yeah.
Or Yeah. So what was it that started inspiring you to, because for me, I was talking about this earlier with actually Eric Wheaton, because he's really into fitness, and something inspired me was I was working a structure fire. First, when I first started the fire service, I was all about beach muscles. When I first started, it was, I could bench press 300 pounds. I've got, tree trunk arms, and I can do this job. That's no problem. And then when I first put on my gear and air pack and I moved a charged hose line, I was sucking wind. I felt horrible. I was overexerted. I thought there was something physically wrong with me. I went home and told my wife, I said, man, I just felt so terrible afterwards, and I felt so overexerted. I never felt like that before. And it dawned on me, like, I have to use different muscles to do this job. And then I worked a structure fire years later. It was this was approximately 10 years ago. I worked a structure fire, and we were doing a lot on, because we were a small town, so we were first due, and we were doing a lot. And then came to a part where I got to bring a hose line up to a window, and as I was coming down to get the hose line, I hit that wall. And it was crazy how it felt. All of a sudden, boom, there was the wall, and I was done. I had to go into rehab, and I hated the fact I had to go into rehab. I wanted to go back into the party and play, and I couldn't. And that day, I was like, I'm going to be better, because I don't want to feel like that ever again, where I hit that wall and I can't do anything more to help these people out. And so that was my motivation, obviously, to be better for everybody and to be physically fit, so I don't have a heart attack on scene, and be better for my family. But that situation particularly, that was my why. That was my, I hit that wall, and I don't ever want to feel like that again. What was yours?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we all kind of go through those points, but I will say, like, the culture in Phoenix, and really, I feel like a lot of the West fire departments, there's a huge culture, and I'm not taking away from other departments, but just in my dealings with a lot of other, I just feel like there's a huge culture of fitness in these departments, in our department especially. Like, there's there's a weight room at every station. There's skills courses set up at every single station. It is ingrained in us to be ready and be in shape for this job, and I think that's something that's unbelievable about the department and about our surrounding departments here. But really, the one thing that moved me was, and I had a picture up probably last week or so, of me fishing with my daughter, and you could see I was a little out of shape. And my dad had passed away in 2013 from esophageal cancer. Um, and he was, by all accounts, a healthy guy. And he just didn't go to the doctor a lot. He used to be a semi-pro football player. He was a big, buff, strong dude. Different. I didn't get all those genetics. I got a little bit more of my mom's genetics. But when I saw the picture of myself, I just looked at it, and I'm like, I'm pretty soft. I'm in shape. I can do this job, but what's my longevity look like? What's my my outcome going to be for my family, in the long run? What's it going to be for me in the long run? Am I doing a service to myself, to the guys on my truck?
Mm.
And what's that progression going to look like if I stay on the same path? And I had that paradigm shift right then and there, and I said, that's, not the route I want to go. With my dad dying from esophageal cancer, I know our exposures are 100 times more than he ever had. He wasn't in the fire service. I mean, he didn't have the exposure that we had, plain and
Yeah.
simple. And I just looked at that and all the multiplying factors of sleep deprivation, diet, stress, um, carcinogens, everything. I'm like, I have to make a change. And that's really when I looked at my family and I said, I want to be there to walk my girls down the aisle. I want to be there to enjoy retirement with my wife, to be able to do things I want to do. And I want to be the best version of me on this job and be prepared to do it at the highest level for me. So that was really my why right there, and that's one I carry with me all the time.
I love it. It's good. So how did you cater your workouts then? So, because what I see from you online, what I love about your workouts is they're practical. And not
Yeah.
to say that anybody else's is not practical, because what I see a lot of these guys doing, they do such a great job with promoting, working out in gear. And you do, and what I like is I see you're doing both.
Mhm.
And but for me being more up there in age, I like what you're presenting where it's not like this intense, like beat the piss out of you kind of workout. It's still getting you going and it's
Mhm.
still getting the job done. But I feel like I have a connection with your workouts just a little bit more where I don't feel like my whole body is going to be screaming at me at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love working out in gear, and I think it's important. There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of talk about that right now, especially with the PFAS and the gear,
Mm.
which is why you see me run the blue gear from Karna Bunker Gear every once in a while. I love having that option. It feels like real gear. It still gets you hot, and there is no replacement for it. So you have to train in that aspect in the gear, do your skills courses, that sort of stuff. And if you can do it with a PFAS free alternative, then do it. If you can't, then you got to be smart. You got to still train your gear, clean up after, um, and you have to do your tactical stuffing gear, obviously.
Yeah.
But for me, what I like is functionality. I've never been a big muscle guy. I've never had the tree trunk arms, the tree trunk legs. I have to work with the body type I was given, and blessed with. I'm a smaller guy. I'm 160 pounds. I'm running about 5'8". So um, I you got to play to your advantages and still build on your weaknesses. And so I always look to get stronger, but also work on that cardio output and being able to extend that. So that's why I really like the functional workouts, sandbag workouts, kettlebell workouts, just those, high intensity, unilateral, because our job is not on a straight plane. Our job is not a deadlift, it's not a squat, it's not an overhead press, it's twisting, turning, the rotation, all that stuff, plus those one plane movements. And we have to train for that. So that's kind of where all my stuff comes from. It's that truly it's a functional type fitness, and it's something I think people can absolutely transition into throughout their career, build upon, and then continue to do it into retirement. And that's what's important to me now as I'm really getting on that twilight part of my career. I remember walking into the first day at the fire station and just being psyched out of my mind. And man, I was strong. I was eager. I was full of piss and vinegar. I was like, this is awesome. I cannot wait to go. Let me take that gear off the hook, throw it on a truck. Let's go. And I want to be able to have that same feeling when I retire and I hang that gear up on that hook for the last time and walk out those bay doors. I want to be able to do that in retirement and stay healthy for as long as I can, milk that pension system for as long as I can, be able to attack my retirement with piss and vinegar. And I think when you have that mindset, you perform at your best level on this job, and that gives you the advantage into retirement, because we all know, and I'm sure you've had these experiences, and anybody listening, you hear about the guys that retire and 6 months later they pass away, or a year later
Yeah.
they pass away, and it that like breaks my heart, man. And um they've earned so much going through a 30-year career, 25, whatever you put in. And it's up to the man upstairs, but I want to be able to be 90 and look back and go, what a ride this has been.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Like we need to be able to take care of ourselves and for our kids and then our grandkids and hopefully great grandkids. And I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to Do some fun stuff when I retire. That's the whole point of retiring, is do
Oh
all the
yeah.
fun stuff, right? And if you want to play golf,
Hell
play
yeah.
golf. If you want to go to the beach, you go to the beach. But you want to be able to bend over, kneel down, run around, do all
Yes.
those things. And if you don't take care of yourself now, when it becomes to your retirement, you're just going to be sitting around on the couch sluggish because you let yourself go. And I look at it like we are athletes. I think we've all agreed on that.
100%.
Right? We are athletes. And you ever see it when a all-star retires? You see an athlete that's been in the game for a long time retires. You notice it right away that they're retired, because they gain a lot of weight because they don't have to maintain
Mhm.
that fitness level
Yeah.
anymore. So you can see it in their face, you can see it in their build, like when they're broadcasting and they're doing these guest appearances. They're like, holy crap, that was only a year ago, and
Yeah.
now look how much weight he's gained.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, but you can see where, like, I don't have to do this all the time, and they not necessarily let themselves go, but they're not working as hard, but
Yeah.
they're still able to enjoy life because they've lived such a healthy life for so many years because their
Yeah.
contract depended on it.
Sure. And I think there's expectations for us, right? And I think you can divide it into two areas. Like, we have an expectation on this job to be ready on that truck, to be in shape, to serve the people we're serving, to serve the guys on the truck we're with, because it may be one of them that is depending on me, right? So that's obligation number one. Obligation number two is to your family, to be around as long as you can, to provide for them as long as you can, to enjoy their company as long as you possibly can. And those two kind of motivations or obligations is what really I want guys to think about. Like, don't think that you can get away with it on this job by half-assing some sort of fitness routine and eating whatever you want and just getting blitz drunk every shift off and just not paying attention to all those things, because you're doing yourself, your crew, and your family a disservice. And I know guys, there's guys that and gals that have issues and other things that go on, PTSD and stress and all that stuff, and it's real deal. Um, but I implore them just to ask for help, to work on that part of themselves. Like, do it. Number one, do it for yourself. Do it for yourself and do it for
Yeah.
your family. And after that, the trickle down effect to your crew, the people you serve, is it just starts compounding. And I just want people to really realize that you cannot underestimate this job. You cannot underestimate the exposure. You cannot underestimate the hazards and what it does to us in the long run. And the only way to combat that is by taking care of yourself.
It humbles you real quick. I mean, that's
Super quick.
right. If you've never been humbled before in your life on the job, it's when it hits you, it's gonna hit you like a big old slap in the face.
Right.
And I mean, that's what happened to me, and that's what woke me up and realized I need to be better. And it's a humbling experience when you think you're at your physical best, and like you said, you're half-assing your workouts, and then you're actually doing some real hard work, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, like I am not where I think I should be right now. And you
100%. Now, I've totally been there. I was telling the story today. I came back from a bicep tendon tear. I was on a commercial fire, and it was summer, and we had to force a door. We ended up cutting a door, and man, the door was a son of a bitch. And I was tired, and I was spent, and I just remember thinking, I am not in the shape I need to be right now. So it does humble you real quick. And anybody that says they're 100%, that they can go any given moment, that they've never had that happen to themselves, they're probably lying, because I think we all had that experience where we're like, wow, that one got me, and
yeah,
we need those as long as nothing bad happens, and we need those to give us that little kick in the butt every once in a while.
100%. Well, it's complacency is sneaky, and it's you're not trying to be complacent, but you just kind of start lacking a little bit. Like, okay, I've reached my level, I'm good, and I can kind of ease off. And then something happens again. You're like, oh shit, okay, I'm gonna keep working on that. Then I'm not gonna stop now because I don't want that to happen again. I don't want anybody to think less of me or my performance to think of my less of my performance.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, and, there's all the quotes out there. Luck favors the prepared. Oh, I just heard one from Chief McGrill about. Dang it, I can't remember right now. That's my memory's not so good sometimes. But he was talking about being lucky only reinforces bad habits. And I thought that was a great quote
Yeah,
because you can get away with things until you can't, and sometimes that can't is critical.
yeah,
So you just have to always prepare for this job. You have to be tuned into that. Do we have good days and bad days? Do I have good days and bad days? 100%. Um, we all do. But in general, that's what consistency is. You are always working to kind of move that needle and continue on that upward progression as best you can.
I love it. Now you mentioned that you have Karna gear. Does your whole department have that,
Yep.
or is it just you?
No, 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 no. Ryan and Zach and those guys actually reached out and we kind of collaborated in that, and they were excellent enough to get me a set of gear that I could try and see how it felt and give them feedback on. And I think it's a tremendous tool for departments to use either in the academy or just have sets, depending on the department size. I understand the cost factor in it, but just thinking down those lines of how can we mitigate as best we can um, those types of exposures. And to me, all that stuff starts with the individual. Like I see guys, preaching on that side really hard, but putting their Tupperware in the microwave and heating it up and eating out of that, or cooking on nonstick stuff, eating a whole ton of processed garbage foods. Like you can't just stick a band-aid on it when you got a hole here that's gushing out. Like it's a 360 approach of everything. And I think the Carnegie is a great tool in the toolbox.
Absolutely. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. That's a good product to have. I got to try it.
Yeah.
And my department had some demos, and I didn't get to use it
Nice.
very long, but it was pretty cool. It definitely had weight to it, and you can
Yeah.
move, and it was great. As soon as you put it on, you start working out, you're sweating, you're feeling it. So I thought it was a pretty good product from what the limited
Me
experience
too.
I got to do with it. But you make a good point with some of the people who still have problems with you wearing gear and to work out. The whole PFAS thing, like you said, like there's a lot of things that we're putting into our bodies that are going to do the same effect to us. And it's
Right.
I firmly believe that we need to be working out our gear. We need to be training in our gear.
Yep.
We send our recruits into the academy and they're wearing their gear for whether it's 2 weeks, 6 weeks, they're wearing their gear and doing a lot of work and a lot of sweating normally than what we do now. And
Yeah.
nobody has a problem with that. And like you said
Right.
earlier, as long as you're also taking care of yourself, you're washing afterwards, multiple showers, you're making sure you're cleaning your station clothes and the gear that you're sweating in. I know it's a little extra work, but I think it's important that we do take care of our gear that they're working in. But there is no substitute really for getting acclimated to your gear and working out in that and especially like you guys, man, and you're in the hot sun in Arizona, like if you
Yeah.
don't wear your gear for a good couple of weeks, your body starts getting used to not wearing it. And
Oh, 100%.
right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you put it on and man, it's a shock to your system.
And I feel like the newer gear is even hotter. We have, I don't know the manufacturer, but probably Lion or one of them. It's a zip up, and that zip up is hot, and it does not let any heat out. You got the cuffed um, bottoms and the cuffed arm. Like it retains heat. So like right now, this time of year is really where we start ramping up in our preparation for the summer, because it's come. It's like
Yeah.
I forget what the meme is, but so like winter's coming. Well, summer's coming, and we need to be ready. So I am too a huge advocate um, in the fact that we do have to train in gear, and um, but we have to be smart about it, like you said, and we have to know exactly what else we're putting in our body, our sleep, taking showers right after, washing our hands right after, not eating with dirty
Yeah.
hands, keeping our gear as clean as possible. A shout out to Flame Decon. They have a great product that I use on the regular basis at the firehouse. Whether it's I've done a fire, I've done a skills course, or just in general being at the firehouse. Take the time to take care of yourself, take care of your skin. It's our biggest organ. We absorb a lot, and we just got to pay attention to that.
Now, did you get any knowledge education on physical fitness? Were you ever an instructor in physical fitness? Like, there's a lot of people that have, educated themselves in the proper way of form. And it seems like it just, because the way you do it, it seems like you've used to be a personal trainer or something, but you don't have any
I
prior
actually
knowledge of that?
haven't. I just got my NASM cert um, a few weeks ago, and that is just kind of to have that credential. And I'm working on the nutrition side of it right now as we speak, because that's also a passion of mine. Because like I said, it's a 360 approach. You can't do one without the other, and they go hand in hand. I just no, before this, I just did what I felt was right for the job. And believe me, I am not like a pioneer in any sense of the form. Like, I would look at what other people were doing, take what I liked out of that, put my own flair on it, and change reps up, change weights up, a couple different movements here and there, and put it out in a format that I think, luckily people enjoy and gravitate to. And that's the end goal, is to get them excited, to want to do the same stuff. And kind of like, I think it's still in my Instagram profile. It's I want to motivate people into consistency. That's really what I want to do. Like, I want to be able to take me out of the equation, take all the other influencers in this space out of the equation, and have them be able to perform on their own without any external motivation, find their why, find their own motivation. That's the end goal.
Oh man, that's great. I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a motivator in itself, even without you just saying you want to take that out of it. But it gives people an understanding of why and how they need to do it. When you're doing your routines and you're posting them, how do you come up with these certain exercises? Again, I know you're taking bits and pieces from other places, but they seem to be really pretty thought out.
Mhm.
How are you coming up with those? Like, do you have a theme that you go with for yourself every week, and you go, okay, this is going to be a good week, or this is a good workout, I want to post this?
hmm Yeah, so I kind of pick, and I'm sure you have this, like, you have little nagging injuries and stuff like that. So like, if my knee's jacked up for the week, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna focus a little more on core and upper body this week. Now this one's feeling better. I'm gonna integrate a little more lower body, maybe some full body stuff. And you see me scale a lot, and I'll talk about it on pivoting around different injuries and nagging things, because I think that's one of the problems we all have, is letting our egos get in the way, whether it
Mm.
be training, learning new skills, or pushing ourselves too hard. That's where injury, that's where uh, bad things happen. Whether, like I said, the fire ground or in our physical fitness. And I've been there. I've hurt myself working out. You know, um, it's because of ego. Bernstein said egos eat brains, and it is 100% true. They do. It does, and it's eaten my brain and my body a couple times. So yeah, you gotta kind of pay attention to that. But in general, I do like trying to do more full body things on a regular basis. Um, I don't really run splits. And this is a lower body day. This is an upper body day. For me, I just have never been really good at that. Honestly, I like moving a majority of everything at the same time, trying to get that full body work in, and then using some of my other days to maybe do a ruck or do a longer cardio session, that type of stuff. Because I don't have time to sit in the gym for 2 hours or a real long gym session. I want to get the best bang for my buck, so to speak, and that's kind of where a lot of my workouts are kind of born from.
Hmm. Is your department, are they good with you doing it as well? Because I see you do workouts within your station,
Yeah.
and are they cool with you like using that as a backdrop for your message, for what you're posting out there? Or do they have any? Because it's what your content is definitely not controversial at all. It's helpful, it's
Right.
educational, but some departments can get kind of, they can get pissy when people use the backdrop of you happen to see a truck in the background, like, oh, that has
Yeah.
our logo, you got to take that off. Are they pretty cool with you doing that?
Yeah. So they were, and they still are. But I did have a period where I wouldn't say I had someone complain about it, and I kind of had to go through a process of getting approved, I would say, um, and it ended up being okay. Because a lot of people would say to me when I was talking about this uh, exact thing was, "Hey, you're a recruitment tool,
Yeah.
and you're putting a positive message out about what it takes to do this job and what it takes to do this job for a whole career." Um, and that was humbling and awesome to hear. And it made me, it kind of validated that, excuse me, I'm doing the right thing. Um, and it is okay for me to do it now. But any kind of promotion of any product or stuff in front of a truck is obviously, we
Sure.
don't want that from a department standpoint. So that's obviously something I can't do, but I understand their side of things, and I know some departments do have a big problem with that. But I'm fortunate that I've got the support now.
That is fantastic. I love that
Yeah,
they're backing you on that. That's so important. Like then they're absolutely right. It's a recruitment tool as well. And it's and the fact that you're delivering a positive message. I mean, I can't see why any departments have a problem with it, but you never know. There's certain departments that have a hair across their back if it's just not what they like. They're very scared of social media. Certain departments, and they're starting slowly to realize like social media is not a thing to be scared of. It's a great tool to use if you
it's
use it the right way.
exactly. It's a great. That's it exactly. I mean, we work with dangerous tools all the time. You can cut your leg off with a chainsaw, right? Or you can use it to do great things. And that's the way I look at social media. Is like, what is the message that you're putting out there? How are you delivering that message? Are you getting in the weeds with politics, religion, any of that stuff? I stay out of that realm because that's not the message I want to deliver. I want a positive message that goes across the board of fitness and wellness in the fire service and training within the fire service. Um, because I think it's important. Listen, as a 20-year guy, I'm still learning.
Mhm.
I'm learning from some younger guys, and I think that's a super important thing to understand. Like, yeah, as a senior firefighter, do I have some things that I can teach and show guys? Absolutely. But there's stuff that for sure I can learn from some of the guys coming up, some of the guys that are super engaged and really soaking up information. And I was just talking about this today. I'm fortunate enough to be part of our high rise training cadre. Um, we've really revamped everything, and there's some guys I was talking to that have 10 years or less on, maybe around there, and I'm just watching them and listening to them. I'm going, that is badass, man. Yeah, I didn't know that. Really? Okay, cool. Because the moment you start thinking you've mastered something is the moment you lose. Uh, I just like being a student of this game, and that's not Buffy. That is not something that should be shunned on. You should be proud of the job you do. You should work to master it. I don't think we'll ever truly master it, but we should work to master it, hone our skill set, and that's the attitude I have. And it is refreshing to learn new things. I'll give a shout out to Priority Fire Training. I just did Captain Noah Katz on the job, a younger captain in relation to me. I went and took his class, and man, I learned a whole bunch of stuff on forcible entry, and um, it's just, and I'm able to now teach some other people that sort of stuff. And just turn the Halligan this way. Did you think about doing it this way? Because honestly, when we came on, we weren't really taught forcible entry that great. We were taught beat that door down. And
Yeah.
these guys, you learn the tool. You learn how to use it. You learn the leverage. You learn how to use the ads. You learn how, every end of the tool. It's something that I love having that knowledge and then paying that forward. And those learning from a young guy, I have no problem.
Yeah.
My ego is fine. I can learn from a guy that's been on the job for 6 years that says, hey, I just took this class from somewhere else and this is what they were teaching. Really cool. I like that. Let's go. Like,
I love it.
that's how everybody's attitude should be, I feel like.
We didn't have the luxury either. If you think about it, like all the conferences and all these external trainings that are out there, it wasn't there 20 years ago, right? You didn't have that stuff. Even when I started 13 years ago, there wasn't many out there. You had
Right.
FDIC, but that was kind of the extent of it. It wasn't broadcast like it is now. We are living in a golden era of being able to go to all these great conferences what I love about the conferences too, and since we're talking a lot about fitness, is that it's not just guys sitting around swilling beer and talking about fire stuff. You're at the drill yard learning a skill, but then also, like, to start the day, these guys are doing workouts to start the day. Like, they text a group of people or they'll send out a blast email and say, anybody who wants to get a workout in, meet at the lobby at 6 a.m. We're going to do this workout. And I thought it was so cool to see that, because you're not only just creating a bond as well on the drill yard, but you're creating that bond, and the sweat equity in the hotel lobby or on the drill yard before the whole gang gets there. And CFT, like County Fire Tactics, they do that. They go for runs and walks before their presentations. When I was in Arkansas for the First In conference, same thing. Like, I met up with Kevin Pfluger, Tom Hollick, and all the dadgum guys. And it was during September 11th. We did a stair climb in the hotel. We found their stairs and they all want to work out together. We did these workouts, and it's not just a learning conference, but it's a bond building conference, but people are getting their workouts in and learning those new skills. I'm the same way with you, man. I love learning new skills. And if it's somebody younger than me, that's even better. That makes me happy to see a young guy teaching me, because I definitely don't know it all. And I always make sure everybody knows that I don't know crap. There's guys who knows a hell of a lot more than I do. Yeah. But I take that information from the young guy and I'll bring it back. And I'm like, look, I learned from this dude, and he's top notch. And I like Donovan Carrasco. He's out of down south in Texas, and he's just a solid wealth of information. The guy loves the job, super young. Coyote Fire Training is what the company he does, and he's half my age, but man, he has so much knowledge, and I love learning from him.
Because those are the guys that are carrying that torch in the fire service and are going to be around longer than we are. Like I said, 8, 9 more years left for me, whatever. I want to know that there's guys out there that are willing to learn, willing to change, and continue to develop and hone the skill and make this job the profession that it is. And I think that's something that sometimes guys forget or we take for granted, because we get to go to hangout station with our buddies. We get to, kind of have that boys club and really enjoy ourselves at work. And sometimes that takes away from the fact that this is a profession. This is our job. It is our duty. We've taken an oath. And you have to treat it that way. And when you treat it that way, you continually learn. You continually get better, whether it's, again, skill set on the job, on that truck, on that fire ground. and your personal skill sets, what you're eating, how you're working out, how are you going to perform, your mental side of things. Like there's so much to dedicate yourself to when you're thinking of this job as a profession and being a professional. And that doesn't mean because you're a volunteer, this isn't, you're not professional. You know, I came from the volunteer service, and when I left, I remember telling the chief at the time, Greg Butcher, and I wrote a letter to the membership during the right before I left, and I said, guys, I so valued my time here with Grand Island Fire. I've learned a lot, and I want to tell you, I am not going to going to the Phoenix area to become a professional firefighter, or I'm sorry, a paid firefighter. It's a profession. You guys are professional. They are professional. I'm just going to get paid to do it.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep rocking on. Keep learning. Keep evolving. That's the best part of this job, and what makes it great and what makes a great firefighter is that love for the job to continue the idea of it being a profession.
Well said, brother. I love it. Mic drop
Yeah,
right
thanks.
there. That was beautiful. But you nailed it. And to touch on that too is when we bring stuff back, the biggest thing is we need also to let our administration needs to let us use those skills and let us be able to bring that knowledge in. You know, you have either like a senior guy or even you have chiefs that sometimes are pretty hesitant to change or new ways of doing things. And that's the
Yeah.
hardest thing, I think, too. When the guys get so re-energized, they bring back all this new training and they want to teach it so badly. And they want the guys to have that buy-in that they just did. Like, I just spent a week learning all this information. Let me show you. And you get like one guy who's listening and he goes, yeah, that was really cool. And they walk away, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I'll show you next shift. And then, but those guys, you want to keep inspiring them. So it's almost a group effort though, because if those guys go to those trainings and then they come back and nobody gives a crap. And I'm not saying my department, I'm just saying as a whole, because from my previous experience, the previous department, bringing stuff back, nobody gave a shit because it was something new. And it was, who's this young kid telling me this new way of doing things? We're going to keep doing it the old way because that's tried and true. And then that new training gets lost. That ambition gets lost. You kill it. And
Yep.
then you just created this person who's just like, well, I'm not going to say anything anymore because everything I just learned apparently was shit.
And I've had that conversation with some guys from different departments, and I just tell them keep going,
Yeah.
keep doing it. You're going to get through to somebody, and then that is going to snowball. You know, firefighters hate two things, right? The way things are and change. I think Brundisini said that too, and it's so true, right? And we just have to keep continually working at being the person that can start the shift and
Yeah.
make a change if a change is needed, and bring new things to the table. And that's I think it's just such a valuable part of the job, to be open to that, and to do that throughout your career. Like I said, there's so much value for me at my time on the job to learning new things still. At least that's the way I look at it, because I still love this job every day, going to work. I love it. That's what keeps it fresh. That's what keeps you loving it is the newness that you get when you're learning new skills and challenging each other, getting better. It's such a good feeling, and it makes for a better organization across the board.
Absolutely. I love that, man. That's great. I love the passion you got for that, dude. That's great. Now, you talked a lot about eating healthy. Do you meal prep?
Yeah.
How do you continue a healthy eating style, especially with being on Phoenix, such a busy place? Like, how do you arrange your lifestyle for eating?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have a good, again, a culture. We always cook for the most part, depending, there's stations that go out and eat, but a lot of cooking, a lot of unhealthy cooking at times. But there's been a shift over the past few years. I mean, the food's good, right? But it may not be healthy. There's been a really big shift over the past few years of of trying to cook more healthy. But to answer you more specifically, about 3, 4 years ago, I started bringing my own food to the station in the event that someone was deep frying some chicken, and I didn't want to have deep fried chicken. So I would just have some food that was ready to go and have some healthy snacks with me, cottage cheese, yogurt, some fruit, just as a backup plan, in case it wasn't up to par. And I'm not up to par, but for me, you know what I mean? Um, and I'm not contributing to the shift kitty for that day. I'm still paying. I'm still eating and breaking bread with my brothers at the table. I just have my own stuff in case. And it's also, guys are more accepting now if you just say, "Hey, can you pull me some chicken aside before you throw it in the deep fryer?" And I'll season it and prep it myself. And guys are like, "Yeah, all good." Um, that's where the biggest shift came in. Where back in the day it was like, "No, you're eating what
Yeah.
we're eating." Like,
Yeah, it was
you had
blasphemy if
some
you
of the
didn't.
old, yeah, it was blasphemy, big time. And I definitely understand when you're that young guy on the job coming in. I think sometimes you bite the bullet and you're just eating with the crew and eating whatever. Um, because you got 2 days off to pay attention to really what you're eating. So if it's just on shift where you might just have one meal that's kind of out of your wheelhouse, listen, you got to realize that that's okay if you're generally staying on the path of eating healthy and taking care of yourself. One bad meal isn't going to, you know, derail you at all. So keep that in mind as well, and have that little bit of grace too.
Now, are you also able to get a good workout in with your station? Because you're at the big house. That's a busy place. How is it? How easy is it to get your workouts in?
You mean as far as time wise, is that what you're talking?
Yeah, like how often do you get interrupted? Because out of our central station, it's hard for us to get a good workout in because, especially if I'm on the medic out of my central station, it's very tough because we are a very busy EMS
Mhm.
community as well, and if you're not on the engine, you're on the ambulance, and it can be pretty busy.
Yeah, and it definitely depends on the station. My station is not the busiest, surprisingly. That's right downtown. But we've definitely gotten busier. We got 3 trucks out of there uh, for everybody. We all 2 engines and a ladder, so 2 engines and a truck if you're from back east, right? Um, and uh, we do get interrupted. Not all the time, but sometimes, and that's again why I like those 20-minute workouts, those E-bombs, those AMRAPs, those things that you can get in and get done. Um, that definitely lends itself to being able to work out on shift. But I've also worked at really busy stations on overtime and again with TRT moving out to different stations. And listen, those guys make it a point to get a workout done, whether it's first thing, right after truck check off, hey, we're going to do a skills course, we're going to get a workout in. Um, it's a culture, and they are getting it done. No matter what, you get interrupted a couple times, okay, we'll come back and we'll get right back into it. And give yourself the ability to pivot. If you've tried 5 times and it's not happening, knock out 100 push-ups and then call it good for the day. Hit it tomorrow. That's kind of the mentality I have too. If you're so set on getting a particular workout done and you just aren't getting it done, and you want to eat dinner, you got to try to get some sleep that night. Like, okay, let's kind of pivot off of that long workout or this, what I had all laid out. Let me knock something out so I can check the box. I did something today. I accomplished it. And that's really where, if you see my no excuses workout that I kind of talk about every Friday, the base workout right there, the base movements are just 100 push-ups, 100 air squats, 100 flutter kicks. I can knock that out in like 8 minutes,
Hmm.
right? If you're really moving at it, under 10 minutes. Okay. So you can, and I get the comments like, you must work at a really slow station. I'm like, well, no, not really. Um, you can get a lot of work done in a lot less time than you think. And it's just you gotta, I don't know. That's my answer. I mean, I can build off that no excuses like I do every Friday, where I throw the vest on, or I'll throw kettlebell movements in there, some pull across drags, make that as fun as I want. But I always have that in my back pocket where I go, hey, I getting our asses kicked today. I'm going to knock out this 100. I've moved my whole body. I feel good about that. The box is checked for physical activity today. Okay, boom. Tomorrow, I've got whatever workout I had planned for that day. I'm shifting to tomorrow.
Nice. I like that. Do you do anything for like pre-workout mix? Do you do anything for supplements? And if you have energy, like I've tried, like I mean, for injuries like sore muscles, like I've used the some of the CBD ointments for
Yeah,
sore joints and stuff. Do you use any of that?
yeah, man. I do. I do like Rescue One CBD. I think they're really really good. I love um, their roll on formula for
Yeah, because you
joint
turned
pain
me
and
on
stuff
to
like
that.
that. Yeah, it is so good, man. It's like it's almost like crack for me. Like I love that. Um, it's I don't and it's good. And guys, I use the droplets every day too. You're not gonna pop hot if your department's worried about that. You're gonna be fine. It's 0.000 THC in there, so I know some guys are worried about that. They send you. I'm sure you've seen. They send you a kit in
Yeah.
there to test yourself. So, but beyond that, I use a whole host of different supplements. The big brand I use is X Endurance. Jason St. Clair, he's a firefighter here locally in Gilbert, in the town that I live in, actually. And they just have phenomenal products, very clean products. And the one that I 100% recommend, and I'll give you a link to throw down in the show notes. Um, is the extreme endurance, because it is going to help you increase that VO2 max. It helps you decrease lactic acid. So that muscle soreness, that DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness that you're talking about, really helps you reduce that.
Mm.
The big thing for us is it helps reduce oxidative stress. And that is something that we are hit with in every which way on this job. And any advantage I can get to decrease that, because it is one of the leading causes for all cause mortality. The leading contributor to all cause mortality is that oxidative stress. And that product is really phenomenal. Everybody I've given it to or recommended always come back and say, dude, within 7 days or 10 days, 12 days, whatever, however their biology works for them, um, they have more go. They have
Mm.
quicker recovery times. So that is definitely one I always say, guys, gals, no matter on the job, off the job, but specifically for us, they should have in their bag. So definitely, I'll give you the link there.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, that's one of the big heavy hitters. Energy drinks are a problem in our job.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't do any energy drinks. I use it's called Focus from them. So it has some caffeine, some beetroot, like, again, all natural ingredients that gives you a boost. There's a guy at my station that's like, man, he's like 57 years old, and he was drinking energy drinks. I gave it to him. He's like, I love this stuff, dude. It is so much better. I feel good. He's from New York too. He's got a little accent, so he's like, hey, this stuff's awesome. I'm like, I told you, dude. So yeah, I mean, I partake in a whole bunch of supplements every day. One of the things, oh, do I still have you? It says reconnecting. Okay. One of the other things I've recently gotten into, and this is kind of controversial, is nicotine pouches. I know there's a lot of debate on it, but there's a lot of research on low dose nicotine for cognition, um, and even some other research for further benefits. I'm not talking like a 10 milligram Zen or something, where you're kind of buzzed out of your mind, but kind of a targeted approach to, hey, I'm doing training, I'm doing a podcast. Let me throw this in, 1.5 milligrams or three, whatever your threshold is there. But the one I use is 1.5 milligrams. And gives you just enough of that lift, that awareness, that focus. Um, and it is definitely a benefit. And I would just implore people to kind of look into the research side of that, um, and not poo poo on it so much, uh, as I have in the past. So something to look at. That company there is called Athletic Nicotine that I've been
Flush next
using.
thing. Okay.
Gabrielle Reese is someone who speaks of them very highly, and she's married to Laird Hamilton, so those guys are are badasses.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing that I use on not necessarily a daily basis, but when needed.
That's awesome. No, I've never heard of that before. And what an open-minded way to present it, though. Too, I like that because it's usually such a like you said, like a poo-poo thing to talk about, like nicotine
Yeah,
stuff, and I've never thought about that before, and that's a great idea. I like that.
yeah,
So yeah, send me those links, and I can definitely post those in my
for sure.
and when I get this released here. And the other thing I like
Yeah,
to
and
talk
if
about.
guys have
Yep.
questions, please reach out. I'm
Yeah.
an open book. I'll tell you what I use. It's not one company across the board. I don't believe in that, and I don't think that's necessarily always the right approach. I mean, if you like a company, sure, but I don't use just X Endurance stuff. I don't use um, just one. I have 5, 6 different companies that I found that seem to work good for me, and we're all a N of one. We all are different from one another. You
Yeah.
got to figure out what works for you, and that takes some tinkering sometimes. And the one thing I'll say is get blood work done. See a doctor, preferably like a naturopath, somebody who's up on current things, and current modalities and treatments and whatnot, and be on top of your health. Get blood work done. I get it done twice a year, just to stay on top of things, see where my numbers are at, see where my testosterone's at, see where my B12's at, see where my all the different hormone, all those things. Be a participant in your health.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say on that.
Dude, that's great. No, we need to advocate for our own health, and I think that sometimes we don't want to think like we're like being hypochondriacs, right? Like wanting blood work and X-rays, but in our line of work, we really do need it. My
Yeah.
little story, real quick, is that my testosterone levels had dropped dramatically when I was on my previous department from the stress I was having. And I couldn't believe the physical toll that it took on me from just the stressful work environment. And when I had those tests done, like they're like, yeah, your T levels are wicked low. And they tried to get me some supplements, and I didn't really do anything for it. But the biggest thing was changing departments. And then I just recently had my T levels checked, and they're good. They're where they need to be.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how these stress factors in our lives really contribute to what's going on inside of us. And if we
It's
don't check our
incredible,
levels,
man.
yeah,
It's
man.
so incredible. People, I have nothing against exogenous testosterone at all. I think it's very safe. I'm not currently on it, but I am thinking about it because my numbers were on the low end of normal. And I'm 49 years old. I will be. Been on this job for a while, sleep up, all those things, right? But there's ways to help boost it yourself, whether that be through supplementation, whether that be through cold plunge, sauna, paying attention to your sleep on your days off, paying attention
Yeah.
to your diet. Like there's work that you can do, and that probably needs to be done. Again, be a participant in your health. Just don't look for the magic pill. And supplements are just that. And even as someone who reps a brand, I tell them, like, you cannot rely on a supplement. That is not your first number one go to. Like, look at your health, look at what you're eating, look at what you're doing. How can you make an improvement there? And then those supplements are going to help potentiate the work that you are putting in. You have to put in the work.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything takes work. This job takes work to get good. Isn't like you said, like there's no little pill. We're not going to get good at this job by taking a pill, and our health is not going to get better
No.
by taking a pill. You got
Yeah.
to put in that sweat
Nope.
to ultimately make it better. And I love it, dude.
Oh,
What a
yeah.
great attitude. Thank you so much, Nate. I love what
Sure thing.
what you're doing. I love what you're bringing to the table, man. I love your energy and your passion for all of this. It's awesome, man. And I really appreciate you being on the show. Is there anything that you want to hit on that before we close it down for the program here?
Oh man, I mean, I think we covered a whole lot.
I think we did.
Just stay engaged, and that again. It's the whole gamut. It's the job, it's the training, it's your health, it's your family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stay engaged with it all. You have a happy, successful, long career, and a hopefully successful long retirement if you do all those things.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love it. And my biggest thing too is I always try to end it on too is talk about mental health, and mental health is super important. So, what do you do, or who do you recommend, or how do you recommend to help with your mental health?
So, the first thing is, if you're having issues, talk to somebody. Our department has a great, a Fire Strong organization. There's a lot of outlets. I know Next Rung does a great job. There's a lot of ways to get connected with people that know what you're going through, that truly care about what you're going through. So don't be ashamed or afraid to ask for help, to talk to somebody about stuff. Um, make it a priority to do some other modalities. Like I said, for me, I think the cold plunge is one of the best things for your mental health, because it just dials you in. You hate doing it, and you force yourself to do it, and you get in there and you don't think about anything else besides being cold and breathing for 3 to 5 minutes. So that's one of the things. Breath work, I think, is huge. It may sound woo woo, but look into some breath work. Do some Wim Hof work. Engage in those other modalities, and start becoming comfortable with those things. And they will make you uncomfortable. And in that, I think that truly helps with cortisol. It helps with dopamine. It helps with all those things that are going to help impact your mental health. But first and foremost, if you're having a hard time, believe me, there's someone there that wants to help you, that wants to hear from you, that wants you around, and reach out.
I love it. Thank you so much, Nate. I really appreciate that. That's a great message. Thank you so much again for being on the C.A.N Report. Thank you all for tuning in. And again, if you haven't already, click subscribe, like it. It helps keeping this going. Lets me know that you guys are enjoying what we got going on. It helps to get that message out there to everybody else. Nate, thank you so much. Y'all be safe. I love you.
Hey.
Nozzle top.